G'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're doing all right. Hope you're doing better than me. I think because I've done a bit of travelling recently, up and down from cold to hot and back to bloody cold in Brisbane, I've just caught some little lurgy and it's just dragged the shit out of me. Yesterday afternoon, particularly, I went down very poorly. Let John Wilson down badly. My apologies, John. I was meant to pop over and see him yesterday afternoon, but I wound up crashed out in this chair. Until all sort of stupid times. So, yeah, my apologies for last night's show. I just wasn't feeling terribly well. So today has been a bit better. I've tried some old school cures. I'm lucky enough to share the house with a lady who has some knowledge of these things. And I have been swallowing with monotonous regularity, and it's best that nobody is around me, I guess, pickled cloves of garlic. And I've got to tell you, it does fight off that which ails you. It really does dry the nasal cavity up. For the most part, I'm still a bit cloggy at the moment, but I had 6, I think it was this morning, and they've worked all day pretty well. So maybe some of those old remedies are worth really investigating a lot more. I know there are a lot of herbal remedies that people in our community are very happy to share. Voice of Freedom hasn't really had a place to share such remedies, but maybe we should start one, Vince. Maybe we need to put up a page where I guess we can't just put all sorts of concoctions, because if people go off and make them and burn a nostril or something, then, you know, that won't be nice. But if there are some reasonable and at least well-researched natural cures to things like head colds and other instances of unhealth, then maybe we should start building a little bank of them here at the Voice of Freedom. I think that would be pretty cool. Consequently, I'm still catching up on a lot of things that happened while I was away. And, well, there has been a lot of things that have been happening while I was away. So let's start first with my last conversation that I had today with somebody, and that was Spiros. So had a great chat with him, and I'm looking forward to getting him back on the show in the not too distant future. It turns out that the class action he filed in Victoria failed in the Supreme Court, from what I understand. So he will probably explain a little bit more about that. It has something to do, I believe, with the fact that it went straight to the Supreme Court. Maybe should have gone through a different avenue first, which would have incurred something like a 2-year wait. But without going into it too deeply, he's still working on that. He also has been working on something else, which sounds terribly exciting in certain aspects. So I'm not going to blow his trumpet for him. I'll wait until we can get him on and he can discuss what he and a couple of others in Victoria have been working on for the last couple of months. And they have put together something that could be quite significant for people. If you understand your straw man and recovering your true person, there is certain steps you can take. I think he's going to be involved in something like that. So we'll hear more about that coming up too. I guess this week, intel-wise, I'm not really up with a great deal, to be honest. I spent yesterday just collapsed out and today trying to catch up. I know that there are some dates that have been mentioned this week as being very significant, Wednesday being one of them. There are rumours that Hunter Biden will be charged on Wednesday. What he will be charged with will be the question, whether or not they will be serious indictments or they'll be slap on the wrist kind of things. There is also talk of something else toward the end of the week. I believe that something else might have something to do with the financial system, but I can't really tell you what. Not because I don't want to, it's because I have no idea. If they are going to crash anything, it's going to come through the banks. So one of the things I was researching yesterday and had planned to talk to you about a little last night was the 753 banks that have so far gone broke in America. Now, of those 753, the vast majority of them are very small, sort of, if you like, community banks. One might say credit unions in Australia, that kind of thing, that was set up in regional areas to look after locals. Those kind of banks are going down in America. There are a small number that are significant. And those banks probably do hold debt to some of the smaller ones that are going under. If you think of it in terms of, and I'm not using our Australian banks or referring to them in any kind of way like they're in trouble, but if you use any bank, any major Big Four bank has an association with a smaller bank underneath it, Westpac and St George being my immediate one that springs to mind. So there are others too. I think Heritage is involved with ANZ, I want to say. Anyway, it doesn't matter, inconsequential. Australian banking system at this point isn't really involved. What is happening in America, though, is one company seems to be coming in and buying up the debt in the major banks that are collapsing. They've done it in the big five that have gone down already, including the one out of Silicon Valley and the one out of Central Ohio and the one in New York, or two in New York, I think it was. And that entity I'm talking about is JP Morgan and Chase. Now, JP Morgan have been managing, trillions and trillions of dollars on the markets for many, many years. The Chase Bank has also been in the big money business for many, many moons. Some time ago, JP Morgan Chase came together. That I found to be pretty interesting. Very, very supposed strong financial backing for it all. However, they are now holders of trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars worth of debt, and they have no way of covering that debt if a call is made on it. So I would keep an eye on JP Morgan Chase if I were you, because I've got a sneaking suspicion that they are going to be the Lehman Brothers moment of 2023. Lehman Brothers, if you aren't familiar with it, were the trigger point, if you like. I think it was for the 2008 global financial crisis, or the crash, and they were involved in loans, housing loans, and they were called low doc housing loans, and they got held holding an awful lot of debt, and went under, taking the market for a big slide with it. And of course, it sent America into a debt spiral that was very difficult and still hasn't recovered from. They seem to think they can still print their way out of it. And, Biden is speaking up the fact that, he will ram through whatever he has to do to get the debt ceiling lifted so that more money can be printed to fill the holes that are ever going to be growing. It's just a vicious circle. The people know it now. Most people, if they are engaged in politics and policy at all in America, see Biden for what it is, just a joke, and probably an animatron. After his little trip to Europe recently, where we got to see the mask, coming off at the back of his head, I thought it was hilarious when he and the Irish Prime Minister went to walk up the stairs of the Irish Parliament, and two burly guards walked up and closed the doors in their face, saying, no, you're not getting in here, no way. Slammed them shut, so they sort of looked there rather strange and turned around and smiled again, and that was the end of that. Weird shit going on there. Biden didn't go to the crowning of Charlie. Did send the wife and daughter, though. I think it was the daughter, maybe it was the girlfriend, I'm not sure. Lots of very humorous coronation stuff coming out, but lots of serious stuff about it as well. There is pomp, circumstance, and a great deal of symbology involved in the coronation, and a number of things that happened during the coronation indicate that what people think happened didn't. The St. Edward's crown, which Charlie was crowned with and made king with, is an illegal crown. It is the Roman Catholic crown. The oath that Charlie took wasn't to the people, it was to the Roman Catholic, whatever the hell is that they believe. Did you know that the coronation itself was 6 months, 6 weeks, and 6 days after the Queen died? Exactly. 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days after the Queen died. Symbology. There was a great hue and cry, my daughter tells me, that Kate and her daughter were not allowed to wear tiaras on the day because they might upstage the Horse Queen. Now, I don't know whether there's much truth in that at all, but they didn't wear tiaras. What they did wear, I only really saw pictures of in the days afterwards up close, and they are Roman laurels. Now, go and research the history of the Roman laurel. It's the thing that Caesar used to wear around his head. Now, if you research the history, well, I'm not going to go into it. Research the history of the Roman laurels. I can't do everything, can I? So go and look at that, and then maybe if you are a big fan or a big watcher of this, go back and just have a look at some of the other symbology in play there. The two-headed eagles, the whole heap of other stuff. And I have seen some rather interesting suggestions of what Charlie did behind those walls while he was getting undressed. And it had something to do with the choir boy who could sing High C. But I'm not going to share that with you here tonight. Just having a bit of a glance through from the top down to everybody who's popped in tonight. I forgot to say hello. Aussie Sue, God love you. I hope things in the eyes are going well there, love. Hello, Melissa, Nell, or Nelly. Kanga Collins is in. Sunflower. Hello, beautiful lady. Lovely to have you back with us again tonight. Billy Hill is back in the place. Oh, mate. I don't even own a barbecue, man. Do you know how poor that is? I would love to cook a barbecue for you, though, and I have some plans, but you will have to travel for it. There may well be a bit of pork on that barbecue. There will be a spit involved. There might be some music, a show, and a few other things. And depending on which part of the country you are in, unless you're up the north bit, you will have to travel to come to it. But I promise you, it'll be a bloody good weekend to come along, or maybe a week, and have a bit of fun, learn a bit about gold mining. Yes, the gold mining thing was a great experience for me. Once again, thank you to Rob and his family who took me to their, well, as he refers to it, their bank account and let me have a bit of a play around. I didn't go there to get gold. I didn't go there to, try and pan as much of it as I could and go away. It wasn't that kind of a deal, although Rob would have let me pan as much of it and take as much of it as I could. The fact was I wanted to go and see the mine for other reasons. And those reasons I will bring to you, hopefully in the coming weeks or months. I'm putting something together which I hope will benefit all of us. I don't do anything here to benefit me solely. If there is a benefit for me, I try and see how there is a benefit for you in it. And that's essentially what I'm doing with this gold mine. And yes, there is a way you can come and play in the bank account, but we're still working out the finer details of it. So if you like gold mining, or if you've never done gold mining, or if you think you might like to try panning, I'll tell you what we're going to do. In the near future, you'll be able to buy 250 grams of pay dirt straight out of the mine. You'll be guaranteed of a certain amount of gold in that pay dirt, guaranteed of a certain amount of pay, a certain amount of gold in that pay. And you will have to teach yourself through watching videos or watching Rob from our mine to learn how to pan. Now, Rob already has some great videos on that. But he says there are marvelous learn how to pan videos on YouTube, so you can go and learn how to do that. But we're going to start sharing the pay dirt with you, and every bit that you buy helps us go and do shows and do everything else, and it will get you a bit of gold. Now, do I have it sitting here right in front of me? I'm trying to think where I put it. Over here. Okay. So you may or may not be able to see what's in there. That is about half a gram of gold. That's what I panned out the other day. That is worth about $60 today. On the drive in, or a bit more than $60, on the drive in to the mine, while it was still in the ground and hadn't been dug out of it, it was worth about $50. So in the 4 to 5 days that I was there, dug it out of the ground, got back out to civilization, That little bit of gold grew $10. Now, if you'd have come along and given me the $50 for that gold on the way in, I would have the $50 note, you would have the gold. What happens? I spend the $50 note. It doesn't appreciate. It doesn't do anything. I can hang on to it for as long as I like. It's still only going to be worth $50. But in 4 days, that bit of gold I sold you is worth $10 more than it was the day I got it out of the ground. So if you can get enough gold and hang on to it, you are going to win. And that's why gold and silver investment, particularly for self-managed super funds, is such a good idea. Even not for if you can't do a self-managed super fund, if you just happen to have a lot of cash lying around and you'd prefer to convert it into something better, well, gold and silver is the way to do it. I'm, stuck on silver because it's all I can afford, but there might be a way for people like me who can't afford to go and buy an ounce of gold to go and dig it out of the ground. And if that's something you might be interested in experiencing doing, that's sort of in the direction where we're going. I know there are a lot of people out there that watch this show that are metal detectorists. Might have something for you. And there are a lot of families that might enjoy the opportunity of coming out and enjoying the Australian bush in a setting where they can make a few bucks by panning as a family together. There might also be a couple of other surprises in line too. I don't want to get too deeply into it. It's early days, but just remember, a little bit of gold, a tiny little bit of gold, just keeps getting better in value. And look, how much is it going to go up? I don't know. How much is it going to go down when it goes down? I don't know. But the best thing I can tell you is gold and silver have been the base of every financial system since they've been discovered. While others have changed and we've created paper money and created coins out of things that aren't really valuable, gold and silver have always been steady in the background as something that can be relied on, and the price is constant anywhere across the planet. So it doesn't matter whether it's flat or round. So think about that, getting a bit of gold in your pocket. And if you want to learn how to pan, it's a fun way of helping out Voice of Freedom. And we will have something up on the website in the coming days that will tell you exactly how that will happen. But yeah, we're going to send you some pay dirt. We're going to teach you how to mine it or how to pan it. And I can tell you, it's quite the thrill when you peel back a little bit of dirt and you find little chunky bits of gold floating around in there. So you will be guaranteed of finding gold. It'll be up to you to find it. Every bag will have a guaranteed minimum amount of gold in it. The pay dirt is actual, real, honest to gold pay dirt that will come straight out of the mine, straight into the bag, and then we will make sure that there is a minimum of gold in it, so that everybody gets a bit. You will get a definite minimum, and you might get a bit more because we're not checking it. It's just going straight in the bag. Who knows? There might be a nugget or two. But that's coming up, and hopefully you'll get to experience a little bit of the mining side of things, the gold mining side of things. I particularly like it because now I've been to the beginning of the process, where it comes out of the ground. I've now seen it, in its raw state, if you like, and I've seen it in its processed state when I went into Ainslie and sat down with Paul. And we had a look at some of the magnificent gold and silver coins and bars and whatnot that Ainslie Bullion produce. What I guess we're only lacking now is going to a smelt and watching it all get put into those bars and stamped and all that sort of thing. So I'm kind of hoping that I might be able to have a chat with Paul and arrange that. So that might be a story that we'll bring to you in the coming weeks and months as well here, because it's all part of the journey. I've also watched a video on silver today, a bloke with a jar of silver nitrate and a copper anode that he threw in there. There is a reaction that essentially creates silver. Now, this bloke, when he dried it all out, dried the powder out, melted it all down, poured it into something to cool it off. He made 186 grams of silver, 99.9% pure silver. I can't help but think if it was that easy to do, wouldn't we all be doing it and not having to go to any of the bullion dealers and buy gold or buy silver? So I would hesitate. I don't know the science or the thing behind it. Is it chemistry? I guess it is behind it. So maybe somebody in the chat knows more about that than me. But it's a question I'm going to ask the guys at Ainsley Bullion. Can they tell if silver has been created that way rather than, mined out of rocks and all that sort of thing? So, Daniel, love what you're saying there about royalty. I think you've done very well. And I hear that there are some strange things going on with Charles even today, with certain legalities about his kingship. Here we are. What's this about Russia from Pegs? How many know Russia ended the Second World War today? Lots of strange things going on. It's the yes. I have heard that Russia have done some pretty interesting things. There was an attempt on Putin's life by a drone. That apparently is quite true. Of course, Russia are replying in kind. Zelensky has escaped Ukraine, as far as we're all aware. None of us are actually sure that he was ever there. He has a great green screen in the new $40 million pad that he has, I think, in South Miami in the USA. So everything ostensibly could have been done from there. They don't need to be in the Ukraine to do it. He unfortunately wasn't in the underground bunker that was hit by the bunker buster the Russians sent in a couple of weeks ago, although that did manage to clean up pretty much the entire NATO leadership, military leadership, as well as a number of American agencies and British agencies, I believe, that were under their directing things as they go along. Wow, Paul, I was only speaking to the old bloke today. Never said a word. Beautiful. Looking forward to catching up with you. That'll be a good day. Bill, you're a marvelous man. What can I say? Like and subscribe, folks, if you can. If you're on Nun2K on the YouTube channel, that'd be great. If you're doing it on Rumble or whatever, that also works. But I don't get any income out of either of those channels. Nothing, not even enough to pay rent. So what you say there is nice. Yeah, no car, no steaks. Well, we don't eat steak around here too often. I'm the only one who really likes it. And if I'm honest, I'm the only one who's still got the teeth for it. So the dog food, on the other hand, well, she's always got an eyeball or two she can chew from. We will find our way through it. But I do appreciate it. If anybody does want to help, there's a donate button at the site. But what I'm trying to do is get away from having to ask for money. I'm trying to get to a point where we give you a benefit and a reason you can help and feel good about helping. And if that's to accumulate yourself a little gold pile, and come along with us on the panning journey, then I hope that can help. It is quite exciting. I didn't think I would get terribly thrilled about it. I don't have, a great gold desire. What do they call it? Gold fever. I don't believe I have it, but I did enjoy the experience of getting it and watching it reveal and being part of that. It is quite satisfying. When Rob put it to me, we were talking one night, we were sitting there having a chat because there was no TV to watch or anything else for that matter. It was bloody wonderful. He said one of the greatest thrills that he gets when he discovers either a little chunky bit or any kind of gold really is the fact that he is the first person in 50 million years or more to actually see it. When you think of how its life has progressed, it's been pushed up by ancient volcano. It has then trickled down through the cracks and whatnot in the molten earth. Some of it stayed in the rock. That's where hard rock mining comes from. A lot of quartz has gold in it. That's not what his mine is all about. His mine is, pretty spectacular in a lot of ways, if not for the fact that it is about the most eco-friendly place I've ever been. I will show you some pictures of the mine once I dig them all out. I was just too sick to pull it all out yesterday, and today I've been caught up. But I will dig a few more videos out and just show you around the mine a little bit. It is overgrown to buggery. When we went in, it was the first time Rob had been back in there in 5 months after the wet. And I shit you not, it's like something out of Jurassic Park. As they say in far north Queensland, if you put a nail in the ground, in a week you'll grow a crowbar. And that's pretty much what it's like. So it's a little overgrown up there at the moment, but it'll give you an idea of just how beautiful the place is and just how careful Rob is of how he mines the place. He will not remove a tree if he doesn't have to. And he will only remove a tree if it's a widowmaker and has potential to hurt somebody. Most of the mining that Rob does is up a creek or up a number of creeks. He does not go in and just tear a hill down and sluice it from top to bottom, leaving a desert in the middle of our native wonderland out there, for the want of a better term. He is extremely eco-friendly. In fact, one of his proudest creations out at this site are the 3 dams he uses on the sluice to keep the water running and get the gold. Those dams had to be created. There was no water in that area when he and his partner went out there, his father initially, went out there onto the mine. They had to dig those. And dig them they did, and then they have to wait until the wet comes to fill it up, because you can't get water shipped out there and there is no creek running past to flow it into. So when they go mining, the only mining they can do is with the water that they have left over from the wet. So those 3 dams have to fill up in the wet, and that's what they get to use in the following mining season. Now, one of Rob's proudest achievements, I believe, with those 3 dams is the fact that now, after I think 7 years out there, they are attracting wildlife back into the area. Wildlife that didn't get scared off because of mining or other things. Wildlife that didn't come because there was no water. There was nowhere for them to get a drink. So he has created this oasis, if you like, for the animals, and very proud of it. And I've got to say, pretty spectacular. Everything from cows and pigs to wild brumbies, bird life, of course, all the reptiles that you have come to know and love, and the bloody spiders, amongst other things, insects, everything comes there. And he's very proud. Now, one of the most ridiculous laws, because his mine has to work under exactly the same rules as a BHP mine does. There is no difference if you're a low-level private miner versus a big-end corporate. You have to follow the same guidelines, the same rules, and pay the same fees. And one of the fees that you've got to pay is a bond, so that if you finish mining and you leave and you don't fill in your dams and clean up your site, then the department has some money to throw at people to come in and do that and clean it all up. And clean it up they would. The department, in their infinite wisdom, would come in and fill in those dams because they weren't there originally. So they would take all the tailings, which have now got stuff growing out of them, beautiful trees, shrubs, it's natural bushland. They would push all of that back into the dams, filled with water or not, and fill them in, thereby taking away the water source. They're also known to come out and say, "Oh, here's X amount of plants to replace the ones that you've mined out of existence." And while Rob's very happy to go and do the planting of the plants, they don't mine too much stuff out of existence. But the plants that the government give them to plant out there are not Australian native to the area. They will not survive. The only plants that survive out there are plants that don't need water for long periods of time. Unfortunately, the infinite wisdom of the pencil pushers located in Brisbane and other major centres who've never set foot on a mine, much less been into, outback Queensland and understand what sort of conditions there are in the far north of Australia. Oh no, we just got to send you a few saplings. So there you go. There's a few saplings. Well, they all die. They all die. It's just a waste of our money that some bloody bureaucrat pencil pushing fucktard who doesn't know the difference between a plant that will survive in the dry and one that won't, gets to wield his power with a pen, unfortunately. Let's hope that there are people in there with some common sense, and I'm sure there are, because mining still goes on and people do still get through, even if they do fill the dams in afterwards. No accounting for stupidity on some people's behalf. But yeah, bit of excitement with all of that. I did see an interesting document today. Let me just see if I can... Actually, I might have emailed it to myself. Give me a moment, and I will... I wasn't going to bring it up initially, but I believe a lot of people have been a bit excited about the Tucker Carlson thing, with Tucker Carlson being sacked from Fox. There was also the very large conversation about how... Oh, no, don't know where I've put it. It's not there. There was also a very large conversation about how Tucker Carlson was responsible in great part for the $780 billion settlement that Rupert and co had to pay for what he said about Dominion voting machines. Now, we all know that companies like BlackRock own everything. BlackRock and Vanguard own everything. BlackRock have an overwhelming share, something like 70% share in Dominion. BlackRock also have a very, very large share in Fox. So what BlackRock did was sue themselves, take the money out of one hand and put it in the other, and eject Tucker Carlson on the way past, because he was going to expose just how they were doing it all. This, after a little bit of investigation today, is very accurate. BlackRock and the ownership, and bear in mind, Tucker Carlson never defamed BlackRock. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon, Dominion. He never defamed them. This case was settled out of court, right? With the end result being BlackRock took money out of one corporate pocket and put it into its other corporate pocket and sacked Tucker Carlson on the way past. So how did they do that? Why did they do that? Why would they do that? Well, he was all set to expose a great number of inconsistencies in a 60 Minutes story that happened Sunday 2 weeks ago. And it was all about the FBI plant, or the alleged FBI plant, at the January 6th insurrection riots at the Capitol. He had proof, direct proof, attributable proof, that everything that the 60 Minutes story proffered and the lies that the guy actually told in the interview were just that, lies, and he was going to prove it. That, of course, would have shot a very big arrow into the heart of many of the deep staters, and of course Rupert and co at Fox weren't going to be allowed to let that happen either. So they had to get rid of him. A very comfortable and easy way that the media decided that was going to, or has happened, is that he was sacked because he was responsible for that defamation payout, or that settlement. Well, the fact is, Dominion weren't defamed. All Tucker Carlson said is that there was a great deal of evidence to suggest that Dominion voting machines were connected to the internet and were therefore able to be tampered with. That's all he said. That was never tested in court, because BlackRock Company A rolled over and settled for $700 and whatever it was $1 million to BlackRock Company B, but blamed that settlement on Tucker Carlson and turfed him out the door, along with the other stuff he'd been working on. So BlackRock, we thought, were bankrupt, but still obviously wielding a fair bit of power. And all is not as you see with Tucker Carlson. I'm led to believe we're going to see him pop up very shortly. Well, in coming weeks, not very shortly, but in coming weeks, with what I'm guessing from what I've been told. I haven't been told much, but just knowing what's required to put together something like a television network, I think you might find Tucker Carlson will head up a brand new online television offering in the not too distant future, and it will probably have something to do with Donald Trump and a few other things that are happening at the moment. Tucker Carlson is being perceived by many around the world as an absolute truth teller. I don't know that that's the case. Don't know that I believe that, but I've not seen a great deal out of him that I don't and haven't been able to go and research and back up. He seems to be saying the right things. I have seen a lot of stuff from people who, trolls who hate him as much as they hate me, and they send all sorts of evil stories. Look, I've researched a few of those and can't find anything to back them up too. So, as always, folks, make up your own mind about things. Don't believe me. Go and do your own research. I hope to just send you on a path so you can find your own answers. If I can help you with a few, then I'm happy to. That's really great. Now let me have a look. Learn how to grow silver on YouTube. Yeah, Daniel, that's where I saw it. I think gold will go down when World War III finishes. Bill, I'm pretty sure gold's going to go up for a little while yet, and silver too. Whether or not it's going to go to those amazing proportions that people were sort of alluding to a little while back, silver at go from $40 an ounce to $40,000 an ounce. It'd be wonderful if it did that, particularly if you happen to be holding kilos and kilos and kilos of it. But if you don't, it's not going to matter to you much, is it? Gold, on the other hand, I guess will go up as well in parity with how it is currently. But gold will have a higher value, but silver will also have a value much closer to that of gold. So for some time, the price of silver and other metal commodities have been suppressed artificially by big market players like JP Morgan Chase and others. They have a COMEX market that they trade on, where they essentially hide their losses in silver. That will be exposed, and once that's exposed, it'll blow the top off the silver market, and silver will explode pretty heavily. The question I have, Daniel, about how to grow silver on YouTube is it really the kind of silver that you would get whatever for an ounce for? And if that is the case, why aren't we all doing it? I can't see. I will ask Paul from Ainsley Bullion if they have a way of testing and finding out if there is a difference between the silvers. I have no idea. It must be pretty expensive, silver nitrate, I suppose, and you've got to find these little copper things from somewhere. So there is certainly going to be a cost employed in making this happen and being able to turn it into a little ingot or whatever. You're going to need an acetylene torch at the very minimum, and something that's not going to catch fire with the rock in it when you start melting it down. So yeah, there are going to be costs, but yeah, interesting question. Is it the same sort of stuff? Thanks, Pegs. Yeah, good way to practice panning. That's what we thought. And I'm hoping that we might be able to run a bit of a competition for folks as we travel around the country. I can bring a few bags of this, and we can run some panning competitions, maybe raise a bit of money for locals and support local initiatives through My Place. Very keen to try and help My Place grow exponentially. It's scaring the shit out of people around this country, and I love it. So does Darren Bergworth. Just between you and me, we've spoken a couple of times, and while he is feeling the pressure, the ABC story really has only just been a catalyst for more people wanting to come and find out just how good My Place is. And Nambour, there is a Nambour My Place coming your way very soon. Camillo's the man who's going to be behind that one, and I'm very excited for him to be involved with that. He's a wonderful leader and a stand-up guy. I'm very lucky to have had him fall into my life in the last 12 months or so, and he and his wonderful wife Tammy very dedicated folks who are working behind the scenes with me and have been for a while on reaching out to properties and owners of properties that may have land they can use for a variety of different projects, anything from growing hemp to growing veggies, for keeping unvaxxed animals safe, and looking at areas where we might be able to employ skills from the hemp that we grow on one property, go through a machine, make it into a house, and set up some pretty cheap housing on other properties around, so that we can help so many people at the moment who don't have a solid roof over their head on a regular basis simply because they can't afford it. And I've got to tell you that we are immensely thankful for Sharon, who shares her house with us. And there's a lot of times she's got to wait for the rent from me because I don't have it to give her, and she's an extremely patient and wonderful woman, who I can't thank enough, and for her tolerances. But she shares this roof with us for the short time every month or two when I'm home, and you know, she's just another one of us, folks. She's just a really good-hearted person. And she helps me a great deal. So I'm thankful for having a friend like her in my life. We should all be thankful for our friends every day, and thank God that we are able to recognize them and help us protect them, and do for them as they would do for us. It's an important lesson that I've been learning over the last 10 or 15 years, because prior to that, I didn't do too much for anybody else. Did a lot for me, though. And I'm very ashamed to admit it. So that's why I'm all about helping everybody now. And that's where all this comes back in. If I'm going to go gold mining, so are you. We're all going to get some gold out of this. We have to. It's the safest way to make money. And I can't afford it. You know, I haven't got $3,000 to go and buy an ounce of that and say, woohoo, let's wait for that to go up. But I do have some time. I do have a few good muscles. And if you take a good look at the panning video, the Galactic Larrikins have pointed out nicely that my boobs swing pretty well. So let's hope that with a lot more panning, I might be able to tighten up certain parts of the body. Bit of a health thing. You know, that shaking thing that they were trying to sell years ago? It looked like some bloke having a wank. Well, the panning thing might just work better. Really good for your core. So if you'd like to go and help us with that, and learn how to do a little panning and get a little gold, and I've got to say, it is quite fulfilling when you pull it out, then we will give you that opportunity through the Voice of Freedom website, vofhq.com, where you can become a member. And who knows, if we do the right deal with the right mine owner, we might even be able to give away some gold to our members in the not too distant future. So memberships start from $1.25 and go up to whatever you really want to pay. We are still trying to finalise the rules. Somebody changed the bloody rules on how you can give away things on your website in Queensland. So we are now changing that paperwork, and then we will get our silver giveaway for our membership up and running. That's the next thing. Oh, and hats. White hat people. I'm sorry. Lots of you have got back to me. Thank you for getting back to me. Thank you. I'm feeling a bit better. Got the hand going, and I can't reach them. But right over here, there are a bunch of bags and a bunch of hats behind me. And over the next couple of days, Laura and I will start sending those out to you. So thank you very much for helping us out there. I call her Joan of Arc. But all the proceeds of the hats will go to help her and help get her medicine as she battles on through what she's fighting at the moment. So thank you very much for your support there. I'm not sure exactly how many hats I'll have left by the time these orders are filled. So we do have a few more that I don't have with me that I can get access to if we are overfilled. But if you want a white hat with either Q17 or white hat written on it, then email me, carl@vofhq.com, and they're $30 for one. I think it's $50 for two, $75 for three, and $100 for five. I think we've worked it out at. So if you want it one, two, or as many as you want, please just email me, and I'll send you the bank account details where you can pay that in, and we will sort everything else out for you. What else was I going to chat about tonight? There was one other thing, and I didn't write it down like a goose, so I do apologise. So I might just have to leave it for that. It did have something to do, once again, with America, and yeah, no, rather than shooting off the hip, I'll save that for tomorrow night. I'm going to try and get a hold of David Cole tomorrow. It's unclear whether or not he'll be available to come on tomorrow night or, in fact, this week. I would like to try and set up that chat that we were talking about prior to me heading off up north. And Darren Bergworth will be part of that. And Ulikai is a name that will be familiar to many Victorians, but anywhere outside of Victoria, maybe not so much. Ulikai is known in some parts as King Ulikai, and in some parts is known as probably the most senior lawman in Australia. So looking forward to having a bit of a chat with him and discussing the voice going forward. The no vote is where we all seem to be sitting at the moment, particularly. I've had a lot of conversations with people up north about it. The no vote is a very significant vote and a very significant movement up there. There is an awful lot of political bribery going on in the back channels and, behind the humpies, so to speak, somebody told me. A lot of money being waved around to try and coerce people into having a yes vote. Thankfully, the level of awareness amongst particularly Indigenous folks in the north is increasing. They're not just walking away from the conversation. They are actively interested in it, and they are aware of the pros and cons in many cases of what their vote will give them, or in fact take away. And a vote yes, of course, will take away all our rights and all the rights of Aboriginals in Australia. You will become one with the corporate entity, just like the rest of us. So at the moment, the Aboriginal side of the country really has the ability to help save us all by voting no later this year when this referendum comes up. So hopefully I'll be able to get that conversation happening sooner rather than later. There is some movement in the channel, or movement in the station, I should say, about heading south. It looks like in June at some stage we are going to head to South Australia. Vince is the man to talk to about that. And there are, I think, half a dozen at least places that we're going to be visiting. Manning will be one of them. I know Victor Harbour is another. I think Adelaide. I want to go to Coober Pedy and go and check out the opal mines. And I know that there are a few people in Coober Pedy who think like us. Now that Starlink is out there, they might be able to see the show a little bit more often too. So Starlink is going to play an important role in what we do going forward, folks. It does work from the mine, and we will be able to bring you shows from there, and we plan to. The Galactic Larrikins are going to come up and show how their boobs wobble while they pan for gold too. Well, at least one of them's will. Not sure about the other one. But yeah, we're going to take you into the gold mining side of things, give you a bit of an idea of just sort of how hard it is. It is hard yakka. Don't think you're going to come up and pan yourself a fortune and not raise a sweat. You'll raise a bloody huge sweat. But we are going to get you going. So hopefully hook up with My Place, and it'll make it a lot easier for you to be involved. What am I saying here? Looking down here, yeah, Pegs have My Place in Cobram. That's right. There was a My Place in Cobram looking to be set up. So with a bit of luck, that's come up. I found out today, was it I was talking to Vince, or yesterday? 26 now in Queensland, 26 My Places in Queensland, including one setting up in Yeppoon, which leads me back to a conversation I had with John today. John Wilson and I have been invited to Rockhampton on the 20th, I want to say it is, of May. And we have accepted, as far as I'm aware. He asked if I was interested. I said, for sure, I'm happy to go. So we'll do a show from Rockhampton on the 20th or the 21st. John will be having an audience, I dare say, with the people there. We'll be talking about the log of claims, amongst other things, and we will get more details as they come to hand. But if anybody in Rockhampton or Yeppoon area is watching, contact has been made only today, so it's that recent. That we were actually going to be heading somewhere else on the 20th, but John's very keen to head north to Rocky. So let's do that. We look forward to seeing you guys up there on the 20th of May, should all the things get worked out. Further north, we have been talking about taking a little bus ride further north up into far north Queensland. We are planning on doing that too. The bus that we are getting a loan of, it's one of John's friends who has a little old motorhome. It's big enough to put John in. I'll sleep outside in the swag at this stage, but we just want to make sure that it's up for the drive. It's a pretty fair drive, and we don't want to go breaking somebody else's toy. So we'll take that on a smaller journey first, just to make sure that it's up for a longer one later. But yes, we will be coming north. Gympie will be one of the places we're stopping at. Also Harvey Bay, I think, Di, we might be coming back past your part of the world, if not the very least Maryborough. Childers with Michelle. We might do a lunchtime thing in Childers, and if people want to come and have lunch at a pub somewhere, we'll do a lunchtime show and a bit of a catch up with John, or depending on the timing, it could be a nighttime show. So Michelle, whichever way it works, we will be coming to town. In Bundy, I would love to come back to Bundaberg. I've got a lot of very fond memories of Bundaberg from my time there in radio, and then of course Bundy was one of my first Voice of Freedom live shows. So Juanita and the crew up there who looked after me so well, love to come back and see all you guys and discuss, what's happened, what's happening, how we can move forward together. Is there a Bundy My Place yet? Yeah, I want to say they are on the list. So it'd be good to be up there and be part of that. Yeah, Jason, you need plenty of diesel. You do need plenty of diesel, particularly if you're going to go in some of the places that I was in. Just to give you an idea, folks, we were in a petrol, unleaded four-wheel drive to go out to the mine. And we filled it up on, last real petrol stop as you come up over the mountain range, heading out, the Great Dividing Range. That's where we were at 9 Mile, that little short video. Filled it up there, and it was a fairly decent-sized tank. We got to talking. We did a little bit of touristing around on last Saturday, if you like, where I took a lot of video and saw a lot of the historical stuff that's floating around in the goldfields. And we had to really curtail our tourist drive, so to speak, because we didn't have enough fuel to get us, we had to make sure we had enough fuel to get us back to the Palmer River Roadhouse. There is no other fuel out there except diesel. So yes, if you take a diesel vehicle, you can usually find diesel on a mine somewhere. But if you're taking an unleaded vehicle, always wise to take probably a couple of jerry cans, I would have thought, with you of your own fuel. It's a long, long way when you forget the milk, bread and smokes. It's like a 5.5 hour return journey, and it sort of buggers up your sluicing day, I can tell you that. So just having a bit of a glance down here. Thank you, Kanga. Appreciate your sticker, mate. Thank you very much for Sunflower, who put one up too earlier, I think. And I'm just seeing if anybody else is seeing anything. Aussie Sue's having weird experiences in Mount Isa. Who knew? We'd experienced today, a guy came and fixed the solar panel, said that the owner contacted him. He was supposed to have fixed the one across the street, but my own said it's fixed. Well, we've all had bad days. That's bloody hilarious. Look, Sunflower. The spiders. All right. Can I just tell you that the Goliath spider, let me see, I think I brought a picture of the Goliath spider in to show you. That is the Goliath spider. That's a real thing, right? That's a real thing. That one's a brown one. The black ones are apparently up at the mine. I did see the hole where one lived, and you know that there's one living there because there's a web around the outside of it. I didn't stick my hand in it, but I could easily have made a fist and put my fist down the hole. It was that big a hole. Now, it might have only been a little spider living in there, but I'll be honest, I wasn't hanging around to find out. And no, I didn't stick anything down the hole to encourage it out. Let God's creatures live. That's my motto. And Rob's, as it turns out, the mine. So no, don't go stirring them up. You never know; they might have uncles. And Jesus, have you seen that Harry Potter thing with the Don't want to greet one of those things coming out of the forest in the middle of the night, actually. That would be rather ugly. So no. Unfortunately, though, they are up there, and I don't think mortine kills them. In fact, I don't think a fucking tennis racket would kill them. But, you don't disturb them, they won't disturb you, I think is the best way to do things. And snakes, I'm pretty cool with snakes. I've got no problem with venomous ones or pythons or that kind of thing. And in a wild setting like that, as long as you're making enough noise, they're not going to come anywhere near you. They don't want a part of you. I did see one snake on the whole trip, and that was a brown snake, funnily enough, and it was on the road as we were coming in, and it was crossing the road at a fairly rapid rate. It wasn't a big snake, maybe a couple of meters, but they do get quite large out there. King browns out there can grow to 3.5, 4 meters. They do have eastern rough scale snakes out there, or rough scale snakes out there, and of course the coastal taipan. God bless her soul. That's, I think, the second deadliest, or maybe third deadliest land animal in the world. Of course, the absolute deadliest is the inland taipan. You get a lot of those in the Northern Territory, Western Australia, and parts of South Australia. So, thankfully, don't get them where the mine is up in far north Queensland. But you get just about everything else, folks. Loved it, absolutely loved it. A hell of an experience, and if you are at all interested in having an experience on a gold mine, I hope we can help you achieve that. Hopefully we can put something together in the next couple of months that's really going to be quite special, and an opportunity for everybody that wants it to come out and get a bit of gold, and everybody that doesn't necessarily want to go and do the travel out into the never never, but wants to experience a bit of the fun of going panning and pulling a result out of it, getting a bit of gold. And a couple of bags of that, all of a sudden you've got yourself a few grams, and $300 worth of gold turns into 600, turns into 1,000, turns into whatever pretty quickly. If you look at the current gold and silver rates, you will see that they are continually growing. 5 years ago, gold was worth less than, I think, about $1,800 or $1,500 an ounce. That's in fact $1,200 an ounce, I think, 5 years ago. Now, look at it. In 5 years, we're at $3,000 an ounce. In another 5 years, where could it be? 7,000, 8,000? Well, not a bad ounce to be keeping in your pocket, is it? And if you can't go out and mine it, Voice of Freedom will give you the opportunity to pan it at home. And we'll help you. Promise. Be a lot of fun. We'll get a lot of giggles. And I'm pretty confident we're going to get some pretty mad vision out of it from certain people. I'm going to offer you a couple of competitions, maybe, to increase your gold stash, and we plan on having a bit of fun with it. So there are some interesting opportunities ahead, folks, and I want you to win from them, because there's no point in me, being offered things. I don't take things, that I'm offered too much that don't have a benefit for all of us. And I truly believe that I can figure a way that there is a benefit in this for all of us that wants it. Nobody's going to walk up and just deliver gold to you. You're going to have to get off your ass and do something for it. But I'm determined to try and make it as easy as possible for you. Got some gold in New Zealand. What was that, Jace? Let me see. We've got bad politicians everywhere, brother. Unfortunately, New Zealand, well, you didn't get spared one iota. You've got a whole bunch of bad ones over there. And yes, I think there is some gold in New Zealand, in them there hills. In fact, one of the sluices that I've seen, almost a dredge-like thing is designed in New Zealand and worked there pretty extensively. And I think there's some hard rock mining that's going on there too. Yes, it sounds like I know a bit about gold mining, but no, look, honestly, I've watched a lot of Gold Rush, and that's how Rob found me. His lovely wife, Mairead, was watching the show and heard me going on about Gold Rush one night, and how I'd always wanted to go and have a look at a gold mine. So he decided to invite me onto the bank account, as he calls it. So from that meeting, many things have come to fruition, and Rob and his family, Rob and Mairead and their family, are truly wonderful people that I stack right up there with every one of you that I've met going around the country and have had a personal association with. They are amongst the top-notch folks, and the generosity and openness and honesty that I get from them in this process has been wonderful, really, really wonderful. So I think we might leave it there tonight. I think I've probably let a little bit more out of the hat than I was going to, but there you go, shit happens. I've never been good at keeping secrets. No, what's this? You used to pour petrol down funnel webs holes when you lived in Sydney, burn them, and they come out of their holes in flames. Well, bloody hell. Seems a bit severe. I mean, I'm umming and ahhing on whether I tell you a story about something that was set alight once. And little boys play with matches occasionally. I think we've all probably got a little boy story that played with matches. I was with a bunch of little boys one day, as little boys are apt to do on a Saturday morning. We were out mousing, and we were doing pretty well. There was something of a mouse plague going on at the time, so it wasn't hard to find them. We were running around through some stockyards, some old stockyards in the little town in the Wimmera that I grew up in called Rapanyup. And shouldn't have named the town. So there were a couple of us. One of us found, and it wasn't me, one of us found a spray can of sheep marker, and it was blue. Sheep marker, you spray on the back of a sheep after you've shorn it, or it needs to be shorn, or it's, a sheep you need to mark for some reason. It's fly blown, or it needs attention, whatever. Anyway, this can, they must have thought was empty, but it had enough left in it just for us to go, oh, it's blue. And, a couple of squirts on the wall here or there, and no great graffiti. It wasn't that sort of thing. In fact, there was so little left in it, we really didn't know what we were going to do. And then someone caught a mouse. That was funny. We sprayed the mouse blue. It was very funny. Blue mouse, very, very, very funny. We trapped the mouse in a little box, kind of, quite a large box area, probably a metre or more square, and watched it run around in its blueness. It was very, very funny. And then one of the other guys, wasn't me, one of the other guys had a packet of matches and wanted to see if he could burn the whiskers off the mouse, as little boys are apt to do. Not a proud moment. Well, unfortunately, whatever the blue stuff was, it was pretty potent. And when the little boy lit the match and brought it near the mouse, it didn't set fire to a whisker. The whole mouse caught fire, exploded into flames, erupted into flames. And the other little boy that was holding the mouse at the time threw it over his shoulder. That meant that it sort of got out of the containment area that it was in and wound up in the paddock that was behind us. That was okay. It was just a dirt paddock at the time, not too much for it to run into and catch fire. However, it spotted a fairly full shed full of hay and bailed its ass into that on fire. Yeah. So there were about 5 little boys that morning who disappeared very quickly, very quickly. And there was a small fire in Haystack that day, I think, somewhere in northwestern Victoria. But that's a story probably best left untold. I have left names out, all except for the town. And anybody who knows me back then will know the guys I was with at the time. I'm sure it's not a big town. Anyway, folks, that's my advice. Go get some gold and do not dye mice blue and set fire to them. It's a horrible memory I have. Absolutely horrible memory. One of the least proud moments of my life, and probably something that changed me and made me an animal lover from that time on, because I don't hurt animals. I love them. I fix them. I cuddle them. I never want to give them back. That's a bit of a problem. Yeah, we all do stupid things when we're kids. And I guess I'm lucky I get to share mine with you. See, not all dickheads are on the roads.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!